There was once a boy named Rohan who lived in a quiet village tucked between rolling hills and winding streams. From a young age, Rohan was known for two things: his sharp mind and his remarkable laziness. While his classmates woke at dawn to help with chores or study for their lessons, Rohan would wrap himself a little tighter in his blanket, turning over for just 5 more minutes. Minutes that often turned into hours. His mother would call for him, urging him to rise and help fetch water or sweep the yard. But Rohan always found a way to delay. "I'll do it later," he'd mumble, eyes half closed as the sun climbed higher in the sky. He meant no harm. He simply found comfort in doing things slowly, or sometimes not at all. At school, Rohan's teachers saw his intelligence. He grasped new ideas quickly, solved problems with ease, and could recite stories after hearing them just once. But his homework was always unfinished, his desk cluttered with crumpled papers, and his handwriting barely legible. His classmates began to tease him, calling him Lazy Rohan, but he shrugged it off. After all, he reasoned, if he could pass his tests and get by, why bother changing? One afternoon, as Rohan napped under the shade of a banyan tree, his grandfather approached. The old man sat beside him, his walking stick resting on his knees, and shared a story from his youth. He spoke of a farmer who wanted to build a strong, tall tree in his backyard, but planted no seeds. Years passed, and the farmer continued to wish for a tree but never acted. One day, he realized that if he'd planted a single seed years ago, it would now rest in its shade. Rohan listened but shrugged, saying, "But grandfather, what difference does one little seed make?" The old man smiled gently. "Small things, done consistently, grow into great things. Habits are like seeds. Plant them, care for them, and they'll shape your life." That night, Rohan lay in bed, the story echoing in his mind. He wondered, could small changes really make a difference? He decided to try a little experiment. The next morning, instead of lazing in bed, he challenged himself to do just one thing: make his bed as soon as he woke up. It was a small task, requiring a little effort, but it felt oddly satisfying. Encouraged, he set another tiny goal for the next day. After making his bed, he would spend 5 minutes reviewing his school notes. 5 minutes seemed harmless. After all, it barely cut into his precious rest time. Slowly, almost without realizing it, Rohan began to add more small habits to his routine. He'd help his mother carry water to the kitchen or tidy up his books before bed. Each new habit was so small that it never felt overwhelming. Weeks passed, and something curious began to happen. Rohan noticed he had more free time, not less. By spending a few minutes each day organizing his things, he no longer wasted time searching for lost books or scrambling to finish assignments at the last minute. His teachers noticed his homework was neater and more complete. His mother beamed with pride as he helped around the house without being asked. One day, during a school assembly, the principal announced a competition. Students were to write an essay about the power of habits. Rohan's classmates groaned, but he smiled. He had a story to tell, a true story, his own. He wrote about the lazy boy who changed his life, one tiny habit at a time. He described making his bed, studying for 5 minutes, and the quiet pride he felt as his days became smoother and more enjoyable. When the essays were read aloud, Rohan's stood out. His words were simple but honest, and every student understood the message. The principal awarded him first prize, and Rohan's classmates looked at him with newfound respect. No longer lazy Rohan, he became an example of how small actions could produce big changes. But the story doesn't end there. Rohan's journey had only just begun. With each new habit, his confidence grew. He realized he didn't have to transform overnight. He didn't have to become a different person, only a slightly better version of himself each day. The secret was in choosing habits so small they were impossible to refuse. A year later, Rohan was hardly recognizable. He was still the same boy at heart, curious, thoughtful, and sometimes a bit dreamy. But now, he greeted each day with intention. He set his clothes out the night before, reviewed his lessons in the morning, and helped his family without complaint. He even found time for hobbies he'd once neglected, like painting and playing cricket with friends. His friends began to notice the change. One by one, they asked him how he managed to do so much without seeming tired or stressed. Rohan smiled and told them the truth. I started with just one small thing. I kept at it and added another, and then another. It's not magic, it's just the power of small habits. Some of his friends decided to try it for themselves. One began by putting away his shoes when he came home instead of leaving them scattered. Another pledged to read a page of a book each night. Soon, the entire group was sharing stories about their own tiny triumphs. Rohan's story spread beyond his circle of friends. Teachers began encouraging students to build small, daily habits. Parents shared the tale with their children, hoping to inspire them as well. Even adults in the village started to believe that change was possible, no matter how set in their ways they seemed. The village itself began to change, in small but meaningful ways. Litter disappeared from the streets as more people made a habit of picking up after themselves. Gardens flourished, tended by hands that once left chores for another day. Children arrived at school on time, proud of their new routines. The air was filled with a sense of quiet pride, a belief that together, the little things truly did matter. As for Rohan, he never forgot the lesson his grandfather taught him. Whenever he faced a new challenge, he didn't try to tackle it all at once. Instead, he asked himself, what is the smallest step I can take today? He trusted in the power of small beginnings, knowing that with patience and persistence, even the laziest boy could become a leader. Years later, when Rohan grew up and left the village for the city, he carried his habits with him. Life in the city was fast-paced and full of distractions, but Rohan felt prepared. Each morning he made his bed just as he'd done as a boy. Each evening he set aside a few minutes to reflect on his day and plan for tomorrow. No matter how busy life became, he always had time for the habits that shaped him. Rohan's colleagues soon noticed his calm, organized manner. When asked for advice, he shared the same wisdom he'd learned years ago. Start small. Choose one tiny thing you can do every day. Don't wait for motivation or for the perfect moment. Just begin. Habits are like seeds. Plant them and watch how your life grows. And so, Rohan's story became more than just the tale of a lazy boy. It became a lesson for anyone who ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure where to begin. It was a reminder that greatness isn't achieved in a single leap, but in countless small steps, repeated day after day. The surprising power of small habits is that they transform us quietly, almost invisibly. A minute today, 5 minutes tomorrow. These are the building blocks of character, discipline, and success. Like the farmer's tree, the rewards may not appear overnight, but given time, they become impossible to miss. So, whenever you feel daunted by a big goal or a daunting task, remember Rohan's journey. Ask yourself, what is the tiniest step I can take right now? Trust in the process and celebrate each small victory. Over weeks and months, you may look back and marvel at how far you've come, not through bursts of effort, but through the gentle strength of small habits planted and tended, day after day. And perhaps, like Rohan, you'll inspire others to believe that change is possible for anyone, anywhere, and at any time. All it takes is the courage to start and the patience to continue, one small habit at a time. If this story made you pause, even for a moment, to think about what truly matters, then maybe, like me, you're ready to stop chasing and start living. If it touched you, feel free to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that help us grow together.